We are part of history. We are part of Islam. We are part of an ongoing story and a battle between Haqq and Batil from the time of Adam alayhi salam until Judgment Day. We, you and me, and every one of us, Muslim or non-Muslim, we are part of that history. The big mistake is majority of the Muslims calling themselves believers now, they don't believe they are part of that history. They don't believe they are part of that plan. They don't believe that they are part of that story. Only believing that you're making your own life, you're living your own personal history, and you're only living that small, private, selfish story of your own private lives. Because from the beginning, from the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, every Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, Sahabi Kiram continuing, they never see themselves as just an audience, just to sit back and to watch. They've always been part of that struggle, part of that history. The struggle of Haqq against Batil. From individual to communities to nations. Because there was no division in that time. You want unity? You're not even united. Why are you living in this life? How are you going to have unity amongst the Muslims? Everyone has their own agendas. But majority are not believing that we're part of that history, and that history is unfolding. And the history that is going to happen, that is happening now, and that is going to happen in the very, very, very near future, it is the point. It is the climax. It is the highest, apex of this story that has been told for 7,000 years. Everything from the time of Adam alayhi salam is reaching towards this time. This time. And the jaliyat and the tricks and the traps of the dunya and the dukhan, the smoke, has fooled everyone into thinking that you're not part of this. Just live your own private, selfish life, running after the dunya, go up and down, praying, worshipping like a robot, and then die. That you are not part of the history of Islam. Every Muslim is part of that history. And that was how, under the Khilafat for 1,300 years, every Muslim has been living and holding that passion. But since the fall of the Khilafat, it just became every man for himself. You're not part of history, and who cares what happens to Muslims or Islam or this world? Just live your life privately, selfishly, individualistically, and you pass from this world and it's okay. Who is your example that you are saying this? The Prophet ﷺ, he is the example to say just live your life privately, individualistically, selfishly, and pass. Which Sahabi Kiram? Which Tabi'in? Which Tabi'in? Which Khalifa? Which scholar? But what we're going to do now, when majority of the scholars are not even believing that this is Ahir Zaman. Millions are following them, and they say this is not Ahir Zaman. There are no signs of Dajjals. There's no signs of Mahdi appearing because of the signs of Dajjal. According to my square head, foolish, egoistic calculation, it's going to come in 1,000 years, or 5,000 years, or 500 years. So you have scholars who are deaf, dumb, and blind. They swallow all the books, but they are summum bukmum umyun fahun la yarjun. Deaf, dumb, and blind, and they cannot see. And if the scholars, the leaders of millions are like that, if their head is like that, imagine what the body is. Are we surprised? We're not surprised. Then there are those who are supposed to be reminding. Some, they are bought. Some, they are afraid. Some, they just don't care. Some saying that in these last days it is all a game, treating it like a game, to be busy in the time of Ahir Zaman, busy with laughing and joking. So we are part of this history, and if we are not having people to remind us that we are part of this history, either you become very selfish or you become very depressed and you say, what's the use anyway? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create anything uselessly. He especially did not create mankind to be His Khalifa uselessly. And He has sent those ones to remind this whole nation, to remind every individual. But we're living in those times where there's more reminders of this dunya and the ego than there's reminders of Allah and His Prophet. And they want to make the Muslims to forget. So everyone lives their life selfishly, individualistically, not believing that you're part of something big. How do they destroy even that little bit of passion that the Muslims have? When certain groups that say what we are saying, but they're on the way of batil, not haq. There are groups that say we are part of history, we are part of something big, we're part of Islam, but they're getting so much support that they never had support during the time of the Khilafat, because the Khalifa was knocked them down because they are such deviants. But in the time when there's no Khalifa, they get so much support from the enemies of Islam. And they're able to say the things we are saying, but they are on the wrong track. They will also say that we must have the Khalifa to return. They also say Muslims should be together. They will also say we are part of that history. But who are they and what are they representing? Not 1400 years of Islamic history, not 1400 years of wilayat, not 1400 years of risalat. They are following just bid'at. Because if you don't connect yourself to the chain, you are out of it. And you are an innovator. Where does that leave us now as believers? This is a reminder for me and for everyone. Yes, we are here as murids going through your own personal changes, understandings, challenges. You're looking at your ego, yes, but never forget that you're also part of a very, very big picture, a very important picture, a very blessed and a very dangerous picture. That the prophets that have been talking about it for 7,000 years, because every prophet warned his nation of Dajjal. Every prophet warned their nations of Dajjal. 124,000 prophets all warned their nations about Dajjal, about the Ahir Zaman. And they spoke about the Holy Prophet and about Mahdi alayhi salam. We are living in those days. Now we see clearly who is following the way of the Prophet and who isn't. We need to come back to our shahadat. We need to come back to Islam. We need to come back to the Ahl Sunnat way. Inshallah, when we understand this, that time it is very easy for the believers to come together. It is easy now for people who have differences, but inside there is belief, to come together, regardless of outside who they are. ومن الله توفيق الفاتحة.